Diversity is present throughout the country, and for the first time, Grand Island has a welcoming initiative. They hosted an event to celebrate several cultures deep-rooted into the city. Local 4's Leroy Triggs joins now from our Grand Island newsroom with more.
KC, Welcoming Initiative goal is to bring awareness to the melting pot of cultures in our communities. They're comprised of a variety of nonprofits and hosted a multilingual story time at Grand Island Public Library. Library Director Celine Swan is a member of the Welcoming Initiative. She felt the library should be involved because it's a central location and community center for those who live in GI. This is one of several events the Welcoming Initiative has planned in effort to make Grand Island more welcoming to area newcomers because they want every resident to feel at home in GI, and officials say this event highlights something that few other cities can say.
This event in particular, I think spotlights one of the things that's really unique about Grand Island. In our public school systems here, there are over 50 languages that are spoken in children's families of origin. And so recognizing that there's a lot of languages here, and so when we do story times, it can't just be in English.
Elizabeth Troyers Miller says children learn better when it's in their primary language. She says this event spotlights the main languages in the Grand Island area, which is English, Spanish, Arabic, and Somali. She says it's special because children get to cross-learn with other languages, see different people and cultures in familiar stories. Casey, back to you.